GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows. Available.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast, brought to you, as always, by the GSMC Sports Network. We are in the home stretch of the show today, and the week, for that matter. But before we get on to the weekend and enjoying all of our football, I do want to foreshadow and look ahead to Sunday Night Football, because we rarely get a chance to talk about this. We don't have a weekend show, so why not talk about Sunday Night Football a little bit in advance? And it should be a very interesting matchup. Not the best we could possibly have, but there are dynamics within it that really are intriguing and appealing if you're just a regular football fan or a fantasy football player, but especially if you're a betting fan, and that's what we're going to be talking about for our fourth segment of the day. And the game taking place is between the Cincinnati Bengals and the New York Giants, an inter-conference matchup. Cincinnati, 3.5-point favorites at home, I believe. Over under 47.5. New York Giants money line is plus 160. Cincy's is minus 190. As Andre says, it's the breakout game for Brees. I think you have the wrong game. This is the Sunday night game, but let's talk a little bit about the Monday night game, because you did bring up Brees Hall. I think that this could be an interesting game for Brees going up against the Bills. I think that, it's going to depend on how this new look offense really plays, but if the Jets really want to get this offense firing on all cylinders, they're going to have to incorporate Brees Hall, without a question. It can't just be all about the Rodgers show. You're going to have to include guys like Brees, guys like Garrett Wilson. And so I can't ignore the fact that, yes, you can change all the personnel you want, but if there's no change in the field, then I can't really say that any one of those players that I just mentioned is going to have a breakout game. But you bring up a good point. Now is the time for the Jets to try new things. Maybe Aaron Rodgers might not like it, as Andre says, oh shoot, got them mixed up. No worries, my man. But it's an interesting question to at least bring up, right? Because we've worried about Brees Hall a lot as fantasy managers. But this game, I certainly feel like you have to take your chances with him. But let's get back to the actual Sunday night football game between the Bengals and the other New York team, the New York Giants. Now, the betting odds are in your favor in this game. As Andre said, at least they promoted Hackett. He is horrible. I completely agree. He has no business having any coaching job in the NFL anymore. I don't care what Rodgers likes about him. As we said, I had to suffer watching him call plays in Green Bay for years, and I feel you on that one. But he has no business, no matter what Aaron Rodgers thinks of him. It's not about buddy-buddy relationships. It's about winning football games. So, as Andre is now talking about the real Sunday game, Joe Burrow in a must-win game. Bro, I'm not going to lie, this feels like a trap game. I like the Giants in this spot. I kind of agree with you. I feel like this is going to be a close game, and he says Giants money line as well, and I would take that too, but it just does feel like a trap game, right? Because the Bengals are coming off two very emotional games. They got their first win against the Carolina Panthers team that felt rejuvenated, what with benching Bryce Young and bringing in Andy Dalton. But it was not an impressive win in the slightest, because we still don't know what to think of the Panthers. Then they play at home to Baltimore, and they look like they're about to win the game, but they let it slip. And so I feel like this Bengals team just can't get out of their own heads, can't get out of their own ways. And as much as Joe Burrow has been playing some great football over the past couple of weeks, he's been connecting with both Chase and Higgins, really incorporating a lot of different players in this offense. They're moving the football effectively. Their defense is the real problem. This is legitimately the worst defense in the NFL right now. I can think of no other defense, maybe outside of my Seattle Seahawks, but that's a different story, that has looked this bad over such an extended period of time. And it's not just against, teams that you would think can look superior to them on a football field. It's against inferior competition as well. The Panthers stuck around in that game. So if you don't fix your defense, then that spells trouble. So that's all I have to say. On the Giants side of things, a lot of positives to take away from that win against Seattle that I don't necessarily want to talk about as a Seattle fan, but we have to. You established the run game. You were dominant in that game. And Daniel Jones looked super confident as well. Daniel Jones, as much as it's tough to concede, played an excellent game against us. So congratulations to Daniel Jones. Hope it carries over if you're a Giants fan out there. But, man, that's such a painful game to talk about. But I digress because we have to talk about this one. And in this game, I just feel like Daniel Jones can do a lot of the same things that he did against Seattle and be fine. A lot of people's complaints about the Giants have been that they don't seem to have a set game script for Daniel Jones. So he looks erratic different weeks. So if they can play the same way that they did against Seattle, run the ball very physically, get Daniel Jones comfortable passing plays where the defense suddenly has to respect both, and you have something going. You have a rhythm going if you're the Giants offense. And so in this game, the key thing for the Giants to do is just not, get ahead of themselves, and for Daniel Jones to stay comfortable and poised in this game. Because when he is, he can play pretty well. And yes, it's not the best defense that he's going up against, but you got to take your advantages when they come. And so look for Daniel Jones to really shine in this game. And I feel like even without Malik Neighbors, the Giants shouldn't be taking on the mentality of, oh, woe is me, because they played a great game without him. You have the weapons there. You just have to utilize them to the best of their abilities. And so, thinking about how this game can play out, I just feel like the Giants will have more opportunities, be more opportunistic on the offensive side of the football, and thus potentially win this game, like Andre said. Whereas the Bengals side of things, if you're just getting offensive production and nothing from your defense, I think that you don't want to get into a shootout if you're the Bengals. You want to keep this as low damage control as possible, because if you allow the Giants to dictate the time of possession, your offense won't even be on the field. And so it's going to be all about opportunity for the Bengals. You have to retain the football, score points, and most importantly, try and limit what the Giants can do. But the Giants now feel like they can have a game plan against weaker defenses. So your job as the Cincinnati Bengals offensively is to put up points and put them up in a hurry, because there's no saying your defense will hold any lead you give it. And so if I'm Joe Burrow, I have to think, I'm scoring on every drive. I don't care what my defense does. We've got to match them at the very least. If you do build a big lead, I feel like you can't rest on your laurels, because the Giants can be one play away from getting back into it. So if you are the Cincinnati Bengals, especially Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, figuring out this game plan, you have to be in attack mode every single time. Because if you are, maybe the Giants don't have a chance to outscore you. But just know that your defense also might struggle in this game. So that's the reason why I'm kind of tied up a little bit in terms of how I would bet in this game. But I feel like it's tough to feel good wholeheartedly about the Bengals in this game, because as much as you love the offense, as much as this offense can put up points with anybody, that defense will just let it down. And so that's why I feel like I'm leaning, much like Andre, to the Giants side of things. And I feel like it's going to be close. I'm not certain the Giants can cover the spread. I think that it could be a 1-2 point game at the end of it. But I do feel like the Giants have the better chance to win. I feel like they have the ability on the offense side of the ball to make their game plan a possession game. And in turn, it will affect the rhythm of the Bengals offense as well. So it's tough to kind of go against that Bengals offense. But I just feel like for as long as they're off the field, there's no way they can really harm the Giants. Not for nothing, the Giants' defense was also impressive against that Seattle offense. So I kind of feel like a couple of odds are stacked against and too many for the Bengals to overcome in this game. Let me know what you think in the comments, because we're still going to talk about this game to close out today's show, more specifically in the fantasy side of things, as I talk about who to start and who to sit for this game. We'll be right back to close out the show after this short break.